head that's gonna bounce, and that's gonna bother me. Well, and this video is, oh my gosh, that is going to rock and that is going to bother me. I'm trying to decide if it bothers me. So
We the light. 360-degree reality. Sunset beach. I don't need HGTV. I want the real thing.
hey guys, it's Cryst'n. Welcome back to my channel. This is going to be the introduction to my mental health series. I just recently I was just reading some information up on a few mental health conditions, disorders, whatever you want to call them. The appropriate term would be disorder. A lot of people don't necessarily like to use that term because it makes them feel like there's something wrong with them, which is not necessarily the case. The mental health series is it's going to be a series of just me talking about different disorders, and it's going to allow me to explain what they are, maybe clear up some misconceptions or stereotypes of how these people would function or act on a daily basis, because not everyone fits into that mold. Like, somebody could be walking around, and this is just an example, somebody could be walking around with autism and you would have no idea because they're quote unquote high functioning, which is not really a compliment when you tell somebody that they're high functioning, because it's not easy for them. Like, they still have a disorder. They still need to be accommodated appropriately to be able to succeed as a normal person would. And not to say that they're not normal, but they need a little bit of extra oomph. And I'm not trying to this is gonna be kind of hard to do because I'm not trying to in no way, shape, or form do I know everything. In no way, shape, or form am I trying to get attention to myself or gain sympathy or anything like that. I'm strictly doing this because I feel like there's not enough people out there publicly talking about mental health and how important it is, and how different mental health disorders can present differently in different people, and not necessarily you have to take medication all the time, or if you get on medication you don't have to be on it for the rest of your life. These are a few things that just there's some misconceptions and some things that people really don't understand or necessarily know, or really care to know, because it doesn't affect them. But it's important to know if you have any contact with if somebody in your family has a mental health disorder, or if you're in a relationship with someone, or maybe a coworker, anything like that. Yeah. So I feel like it's really important to spread awareness and knowledge. I took a psychology class over the summer, and it was abnormal psychology, which is basically going through every single category of mental health disorders. So there's neurodevelopmental, and then there's the range of anxiety disorders, because there's not just general anxiety disorder. There's specific phobias. There's agoraphobia. There's so many different things. And then there's bipolar disorders and mood disorders and all this other stuff that people just don't know about. They just don't. And I feel like it's really important to me. So that's why I wanted to start it. And I also posted it on my Instagram story, which I will post when this video is up. So if you came from my Instagram story, hello, I love you all. There was a lot of you that liked it. It was kind of overwhelming because usually when I post stuff, people are not interactive with me, which is fine because I'm not very active on Instagram, I won't lie. And we'll get to that also, because there's a reason for it, and it's very beneficial for me to not be all the time. If that makes it'll make sense later. I have a few notes on my phone just so I don't get off track, because that's another thing. Mainly I wanted to do this series because I was reading things about a specific disorder that I'm experiencing, and probably will always experience, but will learn to manage more in my lifetime. I was learning new things that I didn't even know, which I was like, wow, I know about this and I've done research on it and I experience it every single day, and I live with someone else who has it, and we're not similar in how we present symptoms at all. Like, people need to know about these things because it's so very common, and I think it's very, very, very important for minorities in general to be more open-minded and um, more accepting of this, because having a mental health disorder does not mean that you have failed as a parent in no way, shape, or form. A lot of the times it cannot be prevented, because although like a social environment or the environment you grew up in has a factor, so does genetics, and sometimes it's just something that you can't control. So just in minority households in general, I feel like it's mental health disorders are just pushed to the side, and then I don't think parents realize that they're hurting their children more than helping them, because you're pushing aside something that could be avoided. Like, your child is struggling for no reason, when like it could be fixed, it could be helped. And asking for help is not always their strengths, but sometimes it is necessary, and you will see a difference in most cases. Yeah, but just like pushing it off to the side, it can cause other mental health issues, and it can it can make some other things go really, really bad for that person. And another reason is because the parents just don't have knowledge that they can apply to situations. Like, why would they ever know about a mental health disorder if they've never been around somebody with a mental health disorder, they've never been through it themselves, or they never learned about it? They have no idea. That's why I wanted to do the series, to bring awareness and to maybe help somebody that isn't as open to talking about it, or asking for help, or searching for the knowledge themselves. I just want to tell you that I'm way past the point of trying to hide that there's something wrong with me, because I know that I don't have to struggle. I've struggled enough. I really don't need it. And so, like, when I realized that and how helpful it is to me, that I'm just past it. I'm done with it. And I want to help other people. So it's definitely an everyday battle, and I don't want that to discourage you, because I don't want you to feel like just because you think that you have anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, ADHD, autism, dyslexia, anything, any mental health disorder, I don't want you to feel like this is the box for that disorder and you have to fit in it, because that's not necessarily the case. And I feel like a lot of people don't give themselves enough credit. I used to be one of those people. I used to ask myself all the time, what's wrong with me? Why am I this way? Like, and it just comes to the point where I had to fight for myself. Like, I had to stand up for my health and what I thought was right for me, because I knew something was up, and I knew something could be changed and fixed, and I knew that my medications weren't working, and I knew that there was a reason for it. And I know my body, you know your body, you know. So don't be afraid to fight for yourself. Don't let your parents, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your sister, brother, auntie, cousin, whatever, tell you that you're fine when you know you're not, and you're putting yourself through things that you don't have to go through. So I'm just gonna maybe briefly introduce what I've experienced in mental health disorders, because there's a few, and I, in no way, shape, or form, trying to bring any sympathy my way. I don't need it. I promise you, I really don't. I don't need it at all. I'm just open to talking about it, and people kind of take that as me wanting attention for it, and that's not the case whatsoever, because I honestly could care less about receiving anyone's sympathy. Like, I really don't need it. I'm at a place where I'm so, like, knowledgeable and confident in what I know is right for me, that it really doesn't matter to me what anybody else thinks. So maybe, I'm gonna say maybe around 5th or 6th grade, I maybe started to get like really bad anxiety, and that's when it started. And maybe in the 8th grade is when it started to get really bad, 7th or 8th grade. So, like, my mom would be like, hey, take this money in the gas station for me, tell them this, and this. Like, for example, 20 on pump 4 or whatever, and I'd be like, no. She'd be like, no. I'm like, no, I can't. She was like, well, we're just gonna sit here till you do it. And I'm like, we're just gonna sit here. I can't go in there. I can't do it. And she didn't get it. She didn't get it at the time. So, like, I've definitely experienced all the way around, like, social anxiety, test anxiety for sure. When she took me to the doctor for it, for anxiety, in about maybe sophomore year, freshman year, my doctor told me that it was performance OCD and that she didn't want to put me on anxiety meds. And that is not right. That's not right. When you're telling a kid that they have to, that you're throwing them out there blind, like, you have to figure it out by yourself. You have to find other ways to cope. You have to deal with that and basically get over it. That's not how you handle it, especially when they feel already so low. Maybe in the 8th grade is when I really started to feel depressed, like, depressed, but I never spoke up on it because how are you supposed to, like, tell your parents that you're sad all the time, you don't want to do anything, you don't want to be here, you're not happy? Because they're gonna, like, but, like, they would be like, you should be happy, like, you're smart and you're talented and you have things that other people don't have the privilege of having, and you know, you have clothes on your back and you have everything you need, and you get what you want, and more, and you're loved and you're surrounded by all these family members and friends, and that none of that matters. None of that matters. Like, trust me, I am grateful for everything I have in my life. I'm grateful for my family, my friends, my clothes, to sleep in a bed every night, to not have to worry about anything. I'm so grateful for that. But you can explain that to somebody who's never felt sad and had no clue why. So that's kind of my experience with it. I still struggle with it. I have my good days and my bad days. And sometimes, some days are better than others, but it's at a point where I feel like I can kind of, sometimes I can kind of see what triggers it. And then other times I feel like I have no clue what's wrong with me. And so, yeah. So, anxiety, depression, I've dealt with that. I've just been recently diagnosed with ADHD. He said it's the inattentive type, and mostly because I don't present the super duper energetic bounce off the walls type deal, but I do honestly have symptoms of the hyperactive side, which would be like the talking excessively, cutting people off, moving or shaking. Literally, they would talk about me at gymnastics because I rock. I would be sitting there, they're talking, I'm like this, and had no idea. I'm just sitting there. Or I tap my legs, my leg bounces, so I bounce my legs like in class, or I go like this. I remember being in class one day, just listening to the teacher talk, and like the dude I was sitting next to, he looked over, he was like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "What? Well, are you nervous?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Oh, I mean, you're just rubbing your legs." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't notice." But all of that has to do with, like, being in uncomfortable situations or things that make you uncomfortable. Also, it would be like talking like really fast, and I feel like I talk really fast sometimes, and sometimes, like, I talk so fast I forget to breathe. So yeah. And I've never been diagnosed with these things, but I had probably very a mild case. So probably, so basically growing up, I had my home gym for gymnastics, my home gym, and they closed down when I was in the 5th grade. So in 2010, 2011. And I love that gym. I love everyone. I love parents. I loved the coaches. I loved other gymnasts. I loved it, everything about it. I loved it. It was my home, and it closed. So I went to another gym in the area. I will not name names. I'm not a big fan. And they had Russian coaches, but they also had a variety of different coaches, such as just white, black coaches. But unfortunately, they would in the 6th grade. This is in the 6th grade, 5th, 6th grade. They would come up to me or not even come up to me. They would just be straight up telling me like, you're too fat for this, you're too big for this, you'll never be a good gymnast, you don't look like a gymnast, like you'll never be successful in this sport, you need to lose weight. And they would pay me absolutely no attention, none at all. My home gym, they might have said something to my mom maybe a couple times, but it was because I had like really bad osgood in my knees, and they were just like concerned about that. And I struggled with the bars. So they were just concerned about that, and they didn't want me to be injured any further than that. But it was always in my best interest. But these people literally bullied me. I literally would go home and cry. I would cry, and I was in the gym probably maybe 30 hours plus a week, and I would be there for 4 hours a day, sometimes longer, 3 to 4 to 5 hours a day. And I worked so hard, and I was so strong, and I was so talented, but they put me in a box. Like, you're big, you can't be good at this, you'll never be good at this. But that's just they're a different culture. They're Russian. That's how they talk to them over there. Like, they're small. Like, a majority of them are small, and the gymnasts are small. And if they were gymnasts, their coaches told them that they had to be small. So I hold it against them, because you don't say that to an 11-year-old, but I don't blame them, because you only know what you're taught and what you open yourself up to. So, but they did that, and it did a lot of damage. I wanted to quit completely. All through, I just was done. I was done with gymnastics. I didn't want to do it anymore. I never felt big. I never saw myself as bigger than everyone. And maybe sometimes I would be like, oh my gosh, like at a competition, oh my gosh, that girl is so good, but I don't look like her. So that just caused me to start to see myself in the way others did, which caused me to, I feel like, have the start of body dysmorphic disorder, because I definitely didn't see myself the way it actually was. I changed gyms. I went to the high school and did middle school in their club, and then went on to high school, and my coach there told me that it was necessary for me to lose weight. And I was maybe 161 pounds, 8th grade. But I didn't look big. Like, I was very muscular, and yeah, all the guys will tell you that I was muscular. And so, like, we would be playing, and I would hit them or push them, and they'd be like, dang. So, yeah, so she made me count calories the summer going into my freshman year. And every time I would be around maybe 1,000 plus calories, she would tell me that I was eating too much. I still to this day have a very unhealthy relationship with food, but I think that created it because I stopped eating, because what was I supposed to eat? Because everything has calories, everything has sugar. She also limited my sugars to maybe about 15 grams of sugar per day, which is almost nearly impossible unless, because everything has sugars. Fruit has natural sugars, so it's just very hard for you to tell, like, someone to limit that and then have me count calories. And when I'm eating 1,200 calories is a normal average, like, that's what's on the labels, like, that tells you, like, the serving size and all that on food and whatnot. It's based off of a 1,200 calorie diet, because that's pretty much like what you should eat around every single day. I stopped eating. I equated food with weight, and I equated not eating with losing weight, and I lost 30 pounds in the summer. Just in the summer alone, I lost 30 pounds. Looking back, I looked so sick, and I thought I was so fat. I thought I was huge. I thought I was so much bigger than everyone else around me, and that I just needed to lose a little bit more weight. Maybe if I didn't eat until after I got home from practice at 6 p.m. that and ate a little bit, not even like a full meal, that I would be small enough to please the people around me. Like, not what I like. It kind of forced me to just kind of hate myself in a way, and I still struggle with that daily. Like, seeing myself like be at the 130 pounds and look like super sick, to being what I am now, which ain't 130 pounds, and it ain't really close either. I just kind of tell people, like, what do you think I think of myself now? So it's very, very, very hard for me every single day to kind of turn my mind to be like, you're fine. Like, you still have muscle. You have other issues that you are trying to get through to make yourself healthier. You eat healthier. You make better food choices, and you exercise. So I'm trying. I'm really trying, but I really do. I look at myself in pictures, which is why I'm not on Instagram that much. I look at myself in pictures from back then and compare it to now, and I'm like, who is that? Like, is that what I look like? And it's very hard for me to deal with, honestly. So that's kind of like my experiences. I don't want people to feel the way that I felt, because I've been so far as to hating myself and looking in the mirror and just picking apart every single thing that I thought was flawed on my body, and not eating, giving myself proper nutrition, which is so bad. It's so unhealthy. It's something I had to come to the realization that not eating does not equate to weight loss, and not eating does not equate to health. So I did that. I'll try to post different behaviors that can be seen in different disorders, because there's not just one behavior. Like, I'll try to explain that in videos, and I'll try to give tips on how to address them, how to ask somebody for help without feeling like you're incapable. And I'll address some stereotypes and misconceptions, and kind of just all the way around try to educate on all the different ones. And if you want to see something maybe outside of anxiety, depression, ADHD, eating disorders, body dysmorphic disorder, let me know in the comments, or DM me on Instagram and let me know. I have no issue with doing the research. This is just a video to kind of introduce me and why I wanted to do it and all of that stuff. But yeah, if you like me, you like this video, if you want to stay updated on my mental health series, give me a like, give me a comment, share it, click the bell, and I'll see you guys next time.